It's Tuesday night. We're putzing around in the grow room. Got my snack. And we're getting ready to make some soil blocks. I had a little bit, a really short live stream the other night, a couple nights ago. But we made some soil blocks. There they are. And I planted 8 different types of peppers. And 4 plants for each variety. So what we're going to do tonight is kind of similar. I'm going to make up another batch of blocks. We're going to do 32 blocks. You know, I could get more blocks in this tray if I wanted to, but I want to make sure there's plenty of space to bottom water without disintegrating the blocks. You know, one thing that is nice about the soil blocks is all the benefits in terms of the air pruning and getting a nice little healthy rootstock. What I don't like about them is that if you're not careful in how you water, they can disintegrate, you know, over time or have some other issues. So anyway, we're going to make up a batch of 32 blocks. I'm going to show you how I go about it. The first step, I made this sifter, which is pretty cool. Wasn't too hard. And it's 3 foot long, about 1.5 foot wide. But sits perfect on my concrete mixing tray that I got at Home Depot years ago when we were doing some masonry work, and I've converted it into a soil block making tool to hold my potting mix. But anyway, I think this good. A roll of the 1/4 inch hardware cloth, the brackets and the screws and stuff like that. And basically the first step is I drilled my holes, you know, for the brackets and stuff. And then laid it out, stretched out the hardware cloth. So once I got the frame made, I stretched out the hardware cloth and then screwed it down. I drilled holes everywhere you have a screw, and I just screwed it down. These are 1/2 inch screws, I think number 10s. But the idea is that as I'm getting my Pro Mix, which is already fine, you know, it's already pretty good material, but there are some larger chunks like tree bark or, you know, wooden stuff. Like if I take some of this, this is probably pretty good, but just throw it on my screen like so. I've just got a spackling knife, and I run that back and forth. You know, I'm left with a bunch of larger clumps, right? Some of them hard, where it's just gonna compress. Rub this hard enough, I could probably get most of this stuff through the cloth. But anyway, you get the idea. But I run my potting mix through there. It works out pretty good. And my worm castings too. I do need to trim up these sides. There's still a little bit of sharp edges on there. I need to run a tool and smooth that out. But anyway, get all the large particulate out of here. And then, you know, what's nice about making the soil blocks is you can literally customize the potting mix. I mean, you could go and get a store-bought pre-made mix as fertilizer, but I like making my own concoction. And so I've got my Pro Mix. I've got some worm castings. where I'll add a couple scoopfuls to this mix. And then I've got this guy, green dust, which is an all-purpose organic fertilizer. About a tablespoon or two of that. And then I've got some micronized azomite dust, which is got all the minerals, I think from A to Z, like 70 different minerals, something like that. And I'll put a little bit of that in there. And then I usually I've been wearing gloves because this potty mix, it does have, wood, and you can get little splinters. Because not all this is soft, some of it's hard. So as you're mixing around, you can end up getting little bits sometimes caught, and sometimes you get a splinter and stuff. But I found if I put some gloves on, whether it's some automotive disposable gloves, or I've got some other heavier duty gloves, I can mix this by hand in a small batch. If I'm doing a larger batch, I'll use my tub here and mix up a larger batch, and then use my this is a 3/4 inch drill I got from Harbor Freight. It's got a paint mixing implement on there, and just kind of get that going real good to mix everything up. So I've got a large batch that's already pre-made, ready to go. And then when I want to use some, I'll take one of our small little strawberry, blueberry buckets here and put it in here. So once we get it to this point where I've got the recipe I want in terms of the ratios of fertilizer and potting mix, it's just getting into the consistency. And soil blocks are pretty forgiving. It's pretty, once you get the hang of it, you kind of know the consistency you're looking for. What we're looking for is like the consistency of cement, basically, where you can tell it's wet, you can kind of work it, it's clumping together. And the test is to be able to take a handful of it where it sticks together. But if you squeeze it, you're going to get some liquid out of it. If it gets too wet, like if I overwater it, you just add more potting mix to get it to the consistency you want, to dry it back out, right? So water a little bit. There was already some of this that was a little wet, or I had some left over from last time. I'm just going to mix this with my knife. You can see how it's already darkening because the water is getting incorporated. It's not quite where we want. You want it, fairly wet so it sticks together, so you can actually make blocks. If it's like this, the blocks will just fall apart once you compress them. You want them to stick together pretty good. We're getting closer. Probably going to need a little bit more water. Again, we're getting close. I got some water left over from the other night where I used that 5-gallon bucket to rinse my soil block making tool, because periodically you need to rinse it. So I'm just going to dip that in. That's probably enough water. That's good. There we go. That's the consistency we want. You see it's leaving some moisture there. It's getting a little muddy. This is the consistency of concrete. So what I do is I'll kind of hill it up like this. Let me put you on the tripod here. So that way I can use both hands to make my blocks. And what we're gonna do, I'll try to show you all my steps here. If I was recording to post this, I would have the ability to do some edits, but since we're doing this live, in the interest of time, you just have to bear with me. All right, so there it is. I got a couple different soil block making tools. These are the classic Ladbroke ones that I got a couple years ago. This is the micro. We'll make 20 little blocks. I don't really use this that much. This is the primary tool. Now this year though, I went ahead and got these Swift Blocker tools. And I experimented a little bit with this, but I kind of don't like it. I found the blocks, they're not as big. They're smaller than what the Ladbroke makes. And that's not going to work for me because, I don't know, I just like the bigger blocks. I would probably use this maybe on starting the seeds, but I mean, this was 89 bucks. So I might use it periodically. Actually, we'll go ahead and use it just so you can see what it does. Let me back this up. I got my pizza stone. It's an old pizza stone. I found it works perfect for pressing out soil blocks. You know, and again, I could probably be doing this a different way where it's a little more efficient, but this is just the way I do things. I'm doing it on a small enough scale that, you know, yeah, maybe it takes me a little longer, but it's fine. I'm not in any hurry. You know, when I was first getting into gardening and all excited, and so, I mean, it's still exciting like year after year, but you first get into it, you're eager, and you're trying to do probably more than what you should do. And you end up just wearing yourself out. So, I'll just take some of this. The way this one works is you can pack. Maybe I can do it a couple of different ways. I can just press this top in. That's what I'll do. Just press this in like so. So I've grabbed some dirt, some soil, put this on top and kind of push that in. And the idea is you push these blocks through. So there they are. So we can grab one of these so you can see. So I mean, it's a decent sized block. So that's the Swift blocker. You know, and it made 9 blocks. Not bad. You know, that wasn't too hard to do, right? So now we're going to use the Ladbroke. You know, and for this, again, you heal it up. And I'm going to take this and kind of push it into at an angle to fill these up. Real good, let the water drain a little bit of it so that it's filled out. Then we're going to take it on the cement here and just press these blocks out. I usually push it down until I see water coming out, and then I'll pull the top. And there it is. Let me take you off the tripod so you can see the difference. These blocks are bigger than those. And I also like this because it's got the pins where you can make adjustments depending on the type of seeds you're doing. I mean, this is okay, but they kind of, potting mix kind of stuck to it. Whereas this one, it's all clean. You know, and periodically then I would dip this in water so it stays clean. But 4 blocks, I get 9 out of this one. This is not bad. If I was doing, and maybe I'll experiment. Maybe I'll go ahead and do some Swift blocker blocks. Get my blocks laid out, start some seeds. And we'll kind of see. I mean, at the end of the day, these are going to get potted up anyway, because these blocks really aren't big enough to keep the seeds or keep the plants going 6 to 8 weeks out, especially the tomatoes. Normally what I'll do is I'll start them this way, but then I'll pot them up later on in actual cups. And then by the time we get ready to plant them, the roots are filling out the cups, and then we're good to go. I might try this Swift blocker one more time. I'm going to dip it in water and clean this off. We'll clean this one off too. All right, let's have a go at it one more time with the Swift blocker. You know, pile a fair amount up, right? We'll take our tool here and plunge it down through here. So the soil is coming out the top. We got that. And then we'll take our top here and just push that down a little bit. Looks good. We'll push a little bit more, and we'll pull that to ourselves, and there they are, 9 blocks. I will say the Swift blocker is pretty swift. And then we'll use our drywall tool to get these out. It's not bad. I think, you know what? Now that I've made a couple with this, I think we'll go ahead and make up some more blocks. This will be a little experiment. I'll start some more peppers, but I'll use the Swift blocker blocks as my soil blocks instead of the regular Ladbroke. And we'll see how they do. So other than that, what else is going on? I mean, it's been a long time since I made videos. I kind of lost the desire to do it for whatever reason. Just wasn't motivated. Let's see if we can get this tripod straight. Set this down for a moment. Set it up the way we want to. So a lot's happened since I had last been, kind of making videos, last year. My oldest daughter got married in February. That was a momentous occasion as a dad. I think what was really cool is just being totally surprised by joy, to the point of tears. Just it was such a powerful moment, day, just super meaningful. Just a perfect day, really. And just so, I don't know, man, just really touched my heart. I think the big thing about it is, like, you get your child that you've invested all this time and love and yourself in, and you trying to teach them, set them on a good path. For me to kind of, teaching them about the Lord and stuff. And again, I'm not perfect by any means. I've made plenty of mistakes. But doing the best I can as far as, being a dad and setting her in the right direction. And then just to have that all kind of culminate where, she meets the person that's just basically the perfect match. And so just super joyous, and just the reality of, transferring her over out from under, you know, our authority and stuff, and kind of handing her over to who is my now son-in-law. And just kind of the spiritual reality of what happened there too is the Lord's, taking two and making one, and a family unit. It was just really cool. And then this past week, my father-in-law passed away, and that's been kind of tough to deal with, particularly for my wife and that side of the family. As we're kind of navigating through next steps and kind of what things are going to look like, and then just what the future reality is going to be once the dust settles in terms of relationships and things, and and just kind of feeling a responsibility to definitely look after my mother-in-law, and be there for her and all of that. So yeah, so we've had some really awesome things happen, some things that are not so awesome. They've been kind of difficult to deal with, on the personal front. And then the future of the garden, like what are we going to do, as the kids are aging out and kind of coming into their own. They've got their own lives and they're doing their own things. I don't have the manpower, I used to maintain, or it's going to be very difficult to maintain things at the scale that I've been doing them the last couple of years. So we may end up scaling back a little bit this year as things progress. But I think that's just all part of life, is things change and you adapt, and you adjust to kind of like the new normal, the new reality, and kind of just go with it and try to enjoy what you have in each season that you have it. Recognizing that, life it's like a mere vapor. We're here today, gone tomorrow. You just try to enjoy things the best you can. What the Lord's given us. Try to honor Him, in what we do. Again, not perfect. We make mistakes, but we, the main thing is that that's not where we stay. We try to learn from those mistakes and kind of walk out the grace He imparts, right? So anyway, enough of me rambling. I'm going to go ahead and finish making some soil blocks here. I'm going to start some seeds. After I get the blocks made, basically I just drop 2 seeds on each block. Make sure they're pressed in real good. Cover them with some wet potting mix. Make sure the tray's well watered. Put the cover on it, and then just let nature run its course. Hopefully within a week or so we'll have some more sprouts, and then as they grow and get to a point where I need to pot them up, then I'll pot them up, separate them, put them in, where I'll start with 2 trays initially, but eventually I'm going to end up with 4 to 6 trays, depending, and then we'll have all the tomatoes and the other stuff that we typically start. So by the time we get ready to set the garden out, in late May, I'll have a whole grow room or greenhouse full of stuff. Some of the stuff will move out to the greenhouse for a week or 2 to harden off, to the sunlight and all that, and then we'll go from there. So I'll try to take you along as I can. I don't know, videos may be hit or miss. we'll just see how things go. So I think that's all for tonight. And guess that's it. Happy gardening.